Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey guys, welcome back to our show. I'm your host, John Harcar, and I'm here today with Grant Waters. And we're going to talk about, besides his journey in real estate and business, we're going to talk about how local knowledge is key, right? Having that resource, having that person in the area you're going to do your business. Remember, guys, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, really all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business. We do that by providing tools and resources to grow the business they want, which in turn helps them live the life they've always dreamed of. Grant, welcome to our show.
Thanks, John. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to talk about it. I have a virtual business, so I understand the value of having someone in the local area. But before we get into that part, why don't you tell our audience kind of a little bit about you, your experience, how you got into business, real estate, and I know what brought you to today.
Yeah, man. So I actually grew up, I'm based in South Louisiana, New Orleans area, but grew up around North Carolina. My dad was a broker. So I kind of grew up in and around the business. And anyhow, kind of fast forwarding to a couple of years ago, got into, when I was in college, that's more than a couple of years ago, but started kind of investing and doing some of the wholesale stuff and getting kind of into that. And then as that's grown, what I've come to do nowadays is really focusing on being that local knowledge piece for folks that are looking to invest in areas and helping connect those dots. Really, how do you find what you need to know, not only as an investor who's around the area, but like you said, virtually, who's that contact? How do I get the right information so that I don't walk into a bad deal? Number one, because we've all been there. And number two, how do I dispose of these good acquisitions that I do find? And so that's, in a nutshell, kind of what I do best, I think, and what we aim to do here in our local area.
Okay, cool. If you've listened to any of my podcasts, I like to go back. I love the backstory. I think there's always a learning piece because you don't know who's in that same part of their journey now that's listening to this, right? So you stole my thunder. I usually ask the question, how did you get into, was there anybody in your past, any influence? And that's really cool. Your pops was a broker. Did you go on appointments with them? Did you get that in-person kind of, feel for it?
Yeah, I did. And even then, as a young kid, I thought that it was just kind of a really cool thing to do, that we were helping people find not only where they need to live, but my dad had a saying, which was, hey, man, I didn't say that I had to live here, but everybody's got to have somewhere to go. And I think that really shaped when I began wholesaling. Now as a licensed realtor as well, that shapes how I approach every deal. It's not about us. It's not about me and you all the time, right? It's hey, look,
right.
What is that highest and best use for this thing? How do I position myself in the deal so that I can then hand that off to somebody who can do even more than I can? And that's really kind of that playing it and paying it forward thing that I picked up from him a long time ago.
100%, kind of like the book The Go-Giver, right? One of the laws of stratosphere is give more in value than you get in return, right? And if you don't make it about you, you make it about them, and you really push into that just comes back, and that's so awesome. So when you're in college, you started wholesaling. When was this? What year was this?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
This would have been 2005, 2006.
Okay.
Right
So
before
relatively,
things got a little funny.
Yeah, right. Why didn't you start going to or get your license earlier, like like your dad was a broker? Why didn't you get into that path? Why did you go wholesaling?
I think honestly, it was something that I kind of picked up and was figuring out, and then the plan was sort of, well, I may do that when I graduate, whatever. And this being over 20 years ago now, right when that happened, as parents tend to do, my dad was like, "Look, man, do anything else right now. Like whatever you do, this isn't the best time." And so I just kind of delayed it for a while. And then once I made my way down here, I really started to feel messed up. And that was a couple of years ago.
Okay. So how did you learn wholesaling? Did you seek out a mentor? Did you join any groups? I mean, what type of learning process did you have?
Yeah, I actually had a professor in a business course I took and an economics course that I took in college had told me a little bit about it. And he had done a few of these. He owned a bunch of rental properties. And I said, "Where do you get these? Like, where do you find all of these? Are they on the MLS or whatever?" And he was like, "No, typically it's all off-market stuff, and I have a guy." And so he connected me with that guy, and I was able to learn a lot from him.
Nice. And that was a wholesaler.
Shit, I think. Yep.
No,
Yep.
You got me back? Yeah, that was a wholesaler. Okay. So what were some of the struggles when you first started?
So when I first started, and now granted, this is pre AI innovation and a lot of that stuff, but a lot of it was, lead vetting, which I know is a big challenge for any of us. And we're overwhelmed now through our social media channels and everything else of, hey, I've got these leads, I've got this, that, and the other. For me, it became much more of a, how do I find a lead source or a lead referral that's as trustworthy as I plan to be representing this thing on the other side of it. And that was the biggest challenge, I think, back then, and especially in a market that was up and coming, because this was Asheville, North Carolina, which now is substantially grown and blown up in the last 15, 20 years. This was at a time where it was kind of in its early stages of that boom. And so we were able to, working with Jeff, I figured out a lot of those things. And did a lot of things wrong. I mean, I think that's important for everybody to hear and know. Like, you're not going to get it all right, and you shouldn't. And if you think you are, you've probably got a blind spot somewhere.
Right. Yeah. And I like how you when you got the wholesaling part, you went and you sought someone out in a sense, and you learned from someone doing it. And I think that's the biggest thing. So you're wholesaling. How long did it take you to get your first deal?
Oh, man. I would say it probably took a solid 2 months. I had probably 4 or 5 of them fall out just because, the learning curve of it and maybe not knowing what those blind spots are. But once those first 2 or 3 deals got closed, and I learned early on that there were some folks that would kind of, in the interest of getting a deal done quickly, may not always follow all the best steps. And so what I did is I reached out to not only my own dad, but people like him in that area. And I reached out to brokers and said, "Hey, look, if I brought you this deal, what's the best way that, hey, if you had a buyer looking for something like this, how could we work together without it throwing up a red flag?" And from there, was able to sort of reverse engineer that process. And then I told sellers, I said, "Hey, look, here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to buy your house cash in 14 days. I'm 20 years old. I don't have that much money. But here's what I'm going to do. And through doing that and making folks comfortable with that process, some of them said, hey, man, this isn't for me. I'd rather.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Rather than tell me that than get into any sort of gray area with folks. And from there, we were able to really start scaling that business up. And it's all about selling the process and as much as selling the property. And so that's what we focused on.
Well, it's the thing that's tainted the industry a little bit, and that's the dishonesty that maybe some guys do have coming in saying, I'm going to buy your property, I'm going to buy your property. And last minute they say, oh, my lender backed out. I mean, it happens. Don't get, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but when you're using that as a you're kind of giving a farce, right? You're not being honest. And I love the way you're coming across, saying, hey, look, and I'm going, hey, look, I might buy it. I probably won't. I might have to give it, find out someone in my network that's looking to do, but that's why people trust me to find properties for them.
Exactly.
So what does your business look like now? I mean, you've obviously went and got your broker's license. Do you have an office? Do you still wholesale? How many deals do you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm, I work with a broker. He's great. And what we figured out is it's kind of a combination of that same premise and practice of, hey, how can I move this as quickly as possible for the seller, regardless of what the property is? It may not be something that would typically fall in that wholesale sort of perspectives, but hey, even if it's a traditional lending, we tend to go on a shorter contract length. Maybe that's 45 or 60 days instead of tying it up for 6 months in a listing agreement. And using those same principles, the social media, the AI kind of tools and things like that to help market and push that property and get that same speed of sale that we would in a wholesale contract, but traditionally. So now we've kind of added the MLS as a tool versus, hey, this is our crutch. We're just leaning on this and hoping somebody sees it. We're applying that same sort of hustle to wholesale deals that anybody who's ever wholesaled one knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's, I got to get this thing off my hands. We're doing that, but in a traditional sense. And we're shooting for, 3 and 4% listing agreements at 45 days, which is a lot more palatable to folks. And we work it out. And that's what's been the business model since. And it's going really well. And we enjoy it because everybody's on the same page. There's no surprises. So,
yeah. Do you do, so are those kind of, in essence, novations?
Not exactly, because we are the listing agent. We are the listing brokerage for it. In the past, I've done some novation agreements where especially if you don't have a license, that's a great thing to familiarize yourself with and how to do it really well. Because agents can be your friend. It's easy for us to think about as from a wholesale mindset. It's easy for us to think, well, I just got to get this to that buyer. If I'm Grant, I'm looking for John, who's going to flip this thing, turn it into a rent house. Yeah, maybe. But John may also have 15 things he's looking at and maybe working with an agent who helps specialize that. If you learn how to speak the same language, and those real estate investment groups, a lot of agents are parts of that. Agents love investing in properties as well. These are all things that I think when we look at the broader picture, wholesaling can be not only ethical and on the level, but can be a huge, huge plus to any market that needs properties and needs investment opportunity.
Right. And that's kind of how I would position it, as like, we're going to still have the luxury of these investors that are looking to buy properties, but also going to bring it out to the public who you might find an end buyer who wants to live in and fix it up. So, well, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about, what kind of our topic was about, that local area knowledge. Like, explain a little bit to us, like, how did you become, or how are you trying to become the expert in your area, your specific area?
Yeah. So for me personally, John, a lot of that comes down to, focusing not just on individual properties and sort of the business itself, but what other businesses, what other industries, especially in my area, what other factors come into making what would normally be a great deal a not so great deal?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Or vice versa. And a lot of that boils down to, in our area, that's going to be insurance, natural disaster likelihood, things like that, where, hey, am I going to get offered a job at the National Hurricane Center? Good God, I hope not. But I also am fully aware that, hey, the impact that that's going to have, or what's going on in Baton Rouge right now in our state capital, hey, when our legislatures are in session and they're debating these things, what do I need to know that I can then pass on to investors or clients or sellers, buyers, whomever, that says, hey, look, man, there's this great property I'm looking at that, hey, it's ARVs through the top, they're not asking much. I've got plenty of room to kind of make it my own. Hey, I can then say, hey, look, that's all fine and good. But look, one thing you may want to be aware of is we're looking at a potential, hey, with the flood zone or the home insurance kind of realm that lays in, you may be looking at an undercover expense that could come up between now and then in negotiation. Those are the types of things that I would want to know. And it's really just about, especially if somebody might be even one state over. In Mississippi is a great example. If you're in Jackson, Mississippi, middle of the state, hey, you're not dealing with as much of a hurricane threat as maybe New Orleans might be. And I work with tons of buyers between those two areas who might say, hey, Grant, I'm looking at this, that, and the other. What do you see wrong with it? One guy that I speak to quite regularly, that's his question for me. Hey, dude, what's wrong with this? That becomes a lot of it, whether it's insurance, cost of goods. It's not a political discussion at all. It's, hey, that changes. Whether that be something from Washington or that be something that, hey, your wholesale lumber guy went out of business or sold his business. Hey, what does that look like now? These are all kinds of things that I think as investors and real estate professionals, we got to know. Just point blank.
So let's maybe make a quick short list of like the top 5 things. Let's say I want to set up a virtual business in New Orleans, right? What are the top 5 things when I'm going to look into a market that I need to know?
I would say number 1 is insurance, frankly. Get yourself moderately familiar with it, and then, hey, it's never a bad idea to call around and find a few referrals on that front. Like, hey, who's somebody I can call at a moment's notice and go, hey, dude, what would this look like property-wise? Property insurance, homeowners insurance for a year. That's always a great starter. Secondly, are people moving there? New Orleans is a unique city in and of itself. Everybody knows that. Everybody has a great perspective in their mind of New Orleans. But, hey, if I'm buying 1 block or 2 blocks in the wrong direction of something, what does that impact the resale value? Does it make it a flip? Does it make it a buy and hold rental? Those are huge. Neighborhood impact is a big one in that area. Third is population. Like, where is it headed? Because certain parts where I live just north of the city, huge population boom. Whereas 20 minutes to the east or west of me, not as much. You want to be kind of anticipating that, knowing where they're going. I'd say the fourth thing would be, when are you buying this, or when are you planning this investment? And I say that because with hurricane season comes a whole lot of wrinkles. It really does. And with it being, a 6-month chunk of the year, hey, if I'm getting into a deal in October, November, and I'm going to do it as a flip, everything may look great. By the time I turn around to get that thing done when the flip is ready in May, June of the following year, that insurance thing circles back to you, and hey, that timing could be off, and you sit on it several months longer than you mean to. Those sorts of nuances are there. And then probably fifth, which comes into play more so on flips or building a portfolio, is what's your schooling situation look like? What is that personal experience for your end user, be it a renter or a buyer? Hey, what's that look like? schools are huge. Education's huge in this area, and it can be really touch and go. And so you've got to look at that whole holistic view of who am I hoping occupies or uses this product, really.
Who's going to be your end user? Is it going to be a single person because it's close to a college, or is it going to be a family that is in a more traditional neighborhood? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
That makes a ton of sense. So then that kind of answer the question of what mistakes are investors doing when they're going into virtual markets?
I think sometimes it can be that local knowledge being key. We're human, right? So if you live in, I don't know, I'm just using this as an example, suburban Chicago, and you know exactly, hey, here's what might be best in suburban Chicago. I'm looking for a brick on slab, single family, and here's what I want it to be. That may not translate to every other virtual market that you're trying to enter into, or maybe you're already kind of making some inroads. And I use brick on slab specifically because in this area, you never know. You may get a brick on slab in New Orleans where we're pretty close to the water table. So you want to make sure, hey, might be certain areas that for insurance purposes or structurally, you need to be on piers or hard foundation and raised a little bit. Whatever it may be, I would say that's a mistake not only here, but that I've made elsewhere as well. Like, hey, this would be a great house if it were something that I was living in, and kind of what we talked about at the top of the program here. It's not about us. Right? We have to think who lives there, who wants to live there, and how do I make this approach to this deal for me and for that end user the most sensible way possible.
Got it. What are you working on now? Anything? Any new? Any big deals? Are you any type of coaching program? I know you mentioned you're trying to be the local market expert. I mean, what kind of stuff are you doing to maybe generate some more knowledge?
Yeah, so there is still some coaching perspective that's taken a little bit of a back seat. We've done some interesting things, especially with a firm here in Covington, Louisiana, where I'm based now. Servio Capital has gotten into some really neat stuff, both passive real estate investment opportunities as well as stuff they've taken on themselves. And I'm really, really proud of some of the stuff I've been able to be a part of with them. One of which is it was an old RV park. And what they've done is not only, they've remodeled a lot of the cabins and the stuff like that and figured out some creative ways to parcel out ownership there. But it's also kind of given birth to a side sort of reality show that HGTV's picked up. It's called Cabin Wars. Pretty fun thing if you get a chance. I'd highly recommend people taking a look at it.
Yeah,
it's a really neat model. It's a really neat model, especially if you're in sort of the land investment or kind of unique usage investment spectrum, looking for stuff like that. It's really been an eye opener for me as well, as far as, hey, what kind of deals are out there that maybe I wasn't looking for. Like, I've dealt with mobile and manufactured home stuff in the past, or things that were set up similarly, but this has been a whole new avenue that I think temporary and short-term rental being what it is and blowing up the way it is isn't just Airbnbs and Vrbo stuff anymore. It's a lot different. And I think that to me is neat. That's probably the coolest deal I've been a part of in the last year or so.
Now, are you going to be on the show?
I hope not. No. It's so what it was really is cool. Yeah, it would be. But I actually enjoy seeing what folks are doing, because the people that have been featured on the show were ones that kind of little teams, whether they be husband and wife, or if you and I took on one and hey, we're going to renovate this thing, kind of a contest that then now it's in its second season, and I think maybe looking at a third. But it's really cool to see what people do with
that's so cool
these cabins and stuff, and they've revamped the whole park, and now it's doing really, really well. So there's a lot of avenues for real estate investment, and I think that's a huge one. Local knowledge, again, I would have never known this had I not hooked up with those guys.
Yeah, and I see hear a lot of people about, like, the unique short-term type of rentals, right? The different things. People are looking for different experiences, and it's like you got to think outside the box, right? You got to be able to be creative in a sense. So before we get going here, what do you think have been you've been around the block, right? You've been through a couple of difficult real estate times. What do you feel as like your keys to success, like the things that got to where you are today?
I think you mentioned thinking outside the box, John, and that's a huge piece, man. It's I've never found myself comfortable with being really comfortable. And for folks that have been wholesaling a long time, it may be, hey, look, man, you had a ton of success with single family fix and flips. That may not be the case anymore, or what you're shooting at may not be the right target. In times like this, hey, when rates get a little weird, or higher than we want to on that back end, it's not about what it costs to undertake a flip. Hey, is anybody going to be available to buy it at the end of this thing? So maybe that's shifting toward a more cash buyer favored thing, like land, like some of these other short-term avenues or what have you. I think that the key is don't ever get so far outside of a box that all you're doing is novelty stuff, but at the same time, you lean into what you're good at, which ultimately is going to be your model. But how you take that to market and how that goes into practice really has to evolve with what you see around you. And that's, just basic laws of evolution, not just real estate. And I think for that, I'm eternally grateful. It's not always going to be, hey, I'm hitting $50,000 licks on every flip I do. It might be, hey, I'm doing a really good job of finding land deals. And I'm staying alive. I'm staying in business so that when things come back, I am still that resource for folks, because there is a lot of, you mentioned it and did a very good job of describing, there may have been some less than scrupulous wholesaling activity that went on when things were good and money was cheap to borrow, that now those guys may have gone. They may not be doing it anymore now that things are a little more challenging. How do you hang in there long enough as an investor, a wholesaler, an agent, whatever, to position yourself to really serve your community? And that's what I'm proud to still be able to do. It's not always easy, but it's always a necessary thing.
I love it, man. Servant's heart. Appreciate you coming on here today, Grant, and sharing all that stuff.
You.
If there's folks that are out here listening, they want to get in touch with you. They want to talk about maybe the Louisiana market, or just shoot the real estate BS. How do they get in touch?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways they can do that. My direct email address, if that's what you want, Grant at Servio, SERVIO Realty.com. You can also check out 345realty.com. That's 3 spelled out and then 45 realty.com. Those are both great ways to learn about what we're doing and see some of that models. And I'm happy to speak to anybody anytime. Love to, actually. I think it's a great thing to do, and high tides raise all boats.
Yes, sir. I love it, man. That's kind of a motto that goes around our mastermind. Well, Grant, thank you so much once again for coming on. Guys, I hope you really learn some good knowledge about, if you're looking to do a virtual market, go into somewhere where you don't know, find somebody who does. Be successful.
Absolutely.
Guys, hope you had a good time on the show. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.